he has basically, he and the board, they have control of the whole company from that standpoint. But I would think you would get to a certain point where you have that level of success where you could go and affect all the employees' lives, thousands of people that work for your company, where we're going to do something to get you health insurance, and it's like, maybe we're not going to pay for all of it, but an 80-20 split, or you go and do something.
He's like,
to provide that.
He's like, nah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Fuck that.
But you also, all the benefits that you have when your employees have health care, because if they get sick, they're going to go to the doctor, and then they'll get better quicker, versus if they don't have health care, hourly employees are probably still going to go to work. They're going to get your other employees sick, and if you're in the food industry, they could potentially get your customers sick, and then that goes and can affect your business if they link that back to you, like, oh, a bunch of people, we went to Papa John's and got sick. It's like when somebody gets food poisoning.
Yeah,
it
if
turns
Papa
out like
John's gets shut down in a major city because of like
flu
really bad
health
inspection or something like that, yeah, that's not good.
It's tough to prove that kind of stuff, though.
It is, yeah.
But like on Yelp and stuff like that, if you just have like, if there's a dozen people, like we went to Papa John's on Monday and Tuesday, and then we all got the flu, that will go and hurt your business. Okay. Like it's not official or anything like that. Health department stuff.
It may hurt it regionally, maybe.
I want
but
mushrooms.
It's not gonna hurt.
I want mushrooms, extra cheese, and
it's not gonna hurt the Papa
and
John's
influenza.
Image. I mean, you had the guy or the McDonald's coffee scandal where they got burned. That's not stopping anything.
Yeah.
So
I'm a dumbass and I burn myself with your coffee.
But I'm just saying,
so
the overall image is not going to be hurt by even just a civil lawsuit.
No, it's not going to bring them down. It's just a little smear.
Like I said, it'll be civil, regional.
Yeah. It's not Papa John's scandal, where they're putting some fucking like rancid shit into their pizzas on a world scale.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an isolated incident, and it can go away.
Yeah, man. Well, Papa still was a cool guy, but
Papa was cool.
Papa was a rolling stone.
What did you and Papa talk about?
Well, Papa gave me lots of compliments on how I made his pizza look. We talked about it was a Taylor Swift Red Album release party sponsored by Papa John's.
Oh yeah.
And so then we talked about Taylor Swift. We talked about his pizza. He gave me some little gift cards for some free pizza. I don't know. We just chopped it up for a couple hours.
Nothing too heavy.
I got a couple of pictures with him.
Yeah. That's the thing, even with most conservatives, it's not like they're horrible people that agree with them, disagree about certain points in politics or this or that, but it's not like they're like evil mad scientists or they have no soul or heart. But I think there's a lot of people that maybe would subscribe to a little bit more progressive viewpoint if it was laid out in the right way, and then there's some people that it's in their best interest, it's human beings are selfish, that they're going to support a certain candidate because they have a tax code or because they don't want to pay what the Affordable Care Act's going to cost.
Right, well, once you get that big, I mean, you kind of have handlers and advisors, and they've been handling you and advising you for decades, and you kind of trust these people. And so when they say, no, we're not giving this 10 cents, you just kind of say, okay, I guess we're not giving...
Follow the line.
Right. I mean, even though it's your company, these people are the ones saving you millions of dollars and on your taxes, or helping you gain millions of dollars on your...
And a lot of times when you're that big, you can't be involved in like everything of the day-to-day operations. Right. Like there's just not enough hours in the day, so you have to depend on certain people that give you their best opinions and hope that you have the right people in place to advise you.
And then also, these people don't just work for Papa John. His advisors,
consulting firm,
right?
They got 200 clients.
Exactly. So these handlers and advisors and consultants, don't just work for Papa John. They have bigger agendas also.
Makes you wonder though sometimes if they have other in-house clients and they have an in-house meeting, like, well, we better, if we advise Papa John about such and such policy and he signs onto that, then this other company is going to make a bunch of money and we have a contract with them, so it'll benefit us, but Papa don't need to know.
Well, that's what I was getting at. So that's what I'm saying. There's always bigger agendas. I mean, that consultant, that advisor, they have to answer to a boss, and their boss is like, well, I mean, if you do the best thing for Papa, well, what about our top 6 guys? They're going to want the same thing. And, that's not beneficial for us, you, Papa, or anything. So,
or maybe the board of, XYZ marketing firm owns 60% stock in some insurance company thing, where it's not beneficial for them to have the Affordable Care Act pass because their business is going to do better without it. Right. So they advise Papa, and other companies that they advise that are at the top of the food chain for their business, like, this is going to be bad for business, we should all be against it, and sell that narrative. And then you have a couple other marketing firms where it's like, they're not necessarily in direct collusion type thing, but it's kind of like, this is what we're going to have the industry standard message be, that we're against this because of blah blah, tell all your clients.
Right. I mean, money just
rules the world.
Right, it's just the root of all evil, man.
The love of money.
And then, the deeper you get into stuff, the more you expand and the more you investigate, it comes down to money.
It's more, and I look at billionaires and tyrants across the world that they're billionaires, but it's because they're raping their country, right, and letting other or them, but more like African despots or in the Middle East or South America, where basically this person's got $1 billion bank account to do whatever he wants with, but it's because the diamond mines, the oil, whatever resource that they happen to have, they're letting these other companies come in. But how can there's just certain people, it's never enough. Whatever, if it's hundreds of millions, billions, could be quadruple trillion, whatever, it's never enough for them.
Well, I mean, and it gets as bad as to where they literally have a palace, an empire built of gold and all the riches, and they're literally surrounded by poverty.
Well,
you see Putin's mansion?
I would separate Putin for I said at dictators and stuff like that. Russia at least has the appearance of a democracy.
Well, he's what you're saying.
Just we have an appearance of a democracy.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's what you're saying, but just on a grander scale.
Yeah, but I'm talking more like African despots, where it's there might be a parliament or Congress, but it's it's in name only, and they go and pass a law that the ruler doesn't like, and they're just no, that's bullshit. I'm just going to do have I want. Where they have
absolute
same thing, though. Yeah, that's what Putin did.
We have Putin, the appearance of democracy as well, though.
Putin can be president for how long? As long as Putin likes. That's the law that he changed.
Last time he did have to step down because of term limits, and he put in his crony for a cycle, and then he could run again because he couldn't run 3 election cycles in a row. So that other guy filled the place, and they switched places between president and prime minister, and then the next election cycle, Putin became
so he was still in charge.
Yes, very much so. It was his puppet.
Right.
But yeah, but to go to show that Russia's a democracy and follows the rule of law, Putin gave up the top spot for that term, and his puppet served, but then it wasn't a third consecutive term, so then he's back in power again. Mm-hmm. But really, Putin wants to be a czar. And he wants to make Russia more like it was as the Soviet Union.
Absolutely. And
more powerful around the world. And especially with European politics, and Russia really over the past 100 years plus has played a fairly significant role in Eastern European politics, going back pre-World War One, and how all that officially got started with the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. One Archduke gets assassinated, the whole world goes to war. He must have been a hell of a guy.
Yeah, no, that was the banks. But anyway,
You need something to set it off, though.
Right. Well, the bank. That's
gotta,
what set it off. That was the banks.
Yeah.
The banks basically started all the world wars.
Well, duh, because it was for money, though.
Right.
All the wars were for money.
But going back to like the Putin thing is like, they have a perception. Like if you look at like the way that the Russians perceive themselves in the world. They perceive themselves as being bitch slapped by the West and by the United States for years and years and
They
years.
have been to a large extent.
Right, okay. Perception, right, wrong, or otherwise.
I mean, the Berlin Wall fell, and then like Soviet communism fell, and the United States definitely took a victory lap, and they took one more for good measure.
So right now,
it's like, you dirty Russians, we told you.
Right. But right now is their time to get back. The way I see it.
Well, if you look at Russia like 10 years ago, their economy was in shambles, and their military, like they couldn't afford the military like they could before, and then oil prices went up, and Putin was able to engineer a strong movement in Russia. The economy recovered largely because of oil prices and some other factors, but he's seen as powerful because of that, and the Russians, like the majority of people at the end of the day, like they're going to vote their economics, and depending on what type of society you live in, is what type of economics you're concerned with. And Russians definitely remember back in the Soviet era, bread lines, like going to the supermarket, and there's hardly anything on the shelves and all that stuff.
Kind of like what brought Hitler to power?
Yeah, and then a lot of tyrants. And then you have Vladimir Putin, and then Russia recovers, and the economy recovers, and you got food in the stores, and this or that. So for a lot of Russians, when he goes and invades the Ukraine, it's like, we're going to make Russia strong again, and blah, blah, blah. Like, they're all about it because...
Again, sounds familiar, doesn't it? What Germany did with the Rhineland?
I just think that, yes, definitely so, but that's like dictatorship 101.
Okay, well, what's Putin doing? Pretty much dictatorship 105. I mean, he's our 200 level. I mean, in all honesty.
Yeah, and he's definitely, I think he's a pretty intelligent person.
I'm not saying he's
and
stupid.
Also,
I'm
like
not saying he's stupid.
No,
I'm saying he's a tyrant.
No, I didn't think you were saying that. And also, like him being KGB trained, I'm just saying, like, he has a skill set and a way of thinking that a lot of other world leaders don't, and that it will aid him in certain ways, like negotiating with certain world leaders or with the opposition in his own country. But Russia's still a place, it's like you piss off Putin or the people in power, and then you end up dead on the street, mysteriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, did you see the ambassador that just died, like, croaked all of a sudden? The UN ambassador to Russia?
I did not.
You didn't see that?
What happened with
that? It was
country?
last week. Russian UN ambassador. Heart attack. Boom.
There's so many things they can hit you just with a needle and inject in your system and give you a heart attack.
And what was the fucked up thing with Kim Jong-un's half-brother getting poisoned in an airport, and it's all on videotape where these people come up and like put some sort of shit on his face?
It was a nerve agent.
Yeah, and then he's just laying there fucking dead. Like, what the fuck is good? What the hell's that all? What's all that about?
It's Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un's eliminating the competition because that brother was actually in line to take over North Korea, and he pissed off the dad, Kim Jong-il, and so he kind of disowned him, and then he went abroad, and then Kim Jong-un came to power after his father died, and so it's just making sure, like, he's killed off a bunch of uncles.
But to do it in such a visible way, was that intentional?
He just doesn't care.
Sending a message also.
He doesn't give a shit.
No. I mean, he's not going to jail. There's like 2 or 3 North Korean nationals that have been living abroad for a while that obviously like were spies, agents, and they told him, like, here's somebody from North Korea was like, here's this nerve agent, spray it in the guy's face and kill him, and that's what they did. And so North Korea, like, they've already got sanctions against them. No one trades with them, this or that. So it really doesn't matter to Kim Jong-un. Like, he's just eliminating the competition so no one can make a claim to the throne, basically.
You seen The Dictator, where he's like, with the cutthroat thing? He's like,
Ali G.
Yeah, he's like, he's finished, he's done. Well, hey, fellas, any more thoughts? We're going to have to save it for next week. You're listening to the Now Podcast. We'd like you to like, subscribe, leave a comment, do what you do. Thank you for listening. You're far too kind. See you next week.